Just because you don't deserve something bad doesn't mean something bad didn't happen. Hi, I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick. And we had done a podcast previously regarding the fact that you don't deserve, if something bad happens in your life, you don't deserve it. It's not as though there's some karmic balance out there saying, well, it's time for you to have something bad to happen. Or, you cut a guy off in traffic yesterday. It's time for you to be balanced out. It's not how life works. I do want to make sure I clarify something, though, because I don't want to be misconstrued in my words. Just because you don't deserve the bad thing that happened, it doesn't mean it didn't happen. Why is that kind of an important distinction? And this is a little bit of a quieter episode, in case you haven't noticed. I don't want to make a lot of jokes, and I don't want to laugh about this topic in particular, because it's something that I think people really need to realize. So let's start though with something that's maybe a little easier to digest, right? Something bad out of your control happens in your career. Let's assume that it's been the thing that happens is out of your control. The economy goes to hell and you're part of a group of people who are laid off at the company. Okay. It's not your fault. You didn't cause the economy to crash. It's not your fault that you're getting laid off. Somebody would push back on me and say like, well, maybe your performance metrics weren't as high as they should have been or something. It's not your fault. No. Your performance metrics maybe weren't as high as they could have been for a number of reasons. You're part of a group that's laid off. It's not your fault. I don't want to give you license free and clear to then wallow in self-pity. Because just because you don't deserve something doesn't mean it didn't happen. We see this a lot in terms of careers. We see this a lot in the acting world. You didn't book the job on that pilot that turned into just a massive, massive show. What you didn't know was that you happened to look like one of the producer's ex-wives. And that's why you didn't get the job. It's okay. That's the producer's prerogative to make a choice based on that. But you missed out on a career opportunity. Now, absolutely, what is meant for you will be for you. But I think more acting careers have been destroyed by wallowing in the self-pity of not getting the job than anything else. I would bet. I don't have the statistics, but I would bet. So what do I mean that you don't get to wallow in self-pity? I mean you recognizing that it's not your fault doesn't then give you permission to do nothing, to just decide that you can't do anything else in the world, to decide that you just get to sit there and cry and, drown your sorrows. It's a little gross that I scratch my nose on camera, but I have habits. Hard to break them specifically on camera. I'm not perfect at improv. There's a reason I have to take a class for it. But let's cut a little bit deeper. Because it's something that I've had to come face to face with and that I'm really, really struggling with because I'm human. We all struggle with different things. When you go through what I'll classify as, rather than a career loss, a personal loss, it's even worse. The effect can be even worse. You know why I haven't gotten a haircut? I mean, look at my hair. It's like I got a little tuft growing up here. It's ridiculous. I look insane. I look like a mad scientist. I haven't gotten a haircut because I've given myself permission, because I'm sad, to not get a haircut. Isn't that the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard? I'm a grown-ass man. In many ways. Most ways, in fact. I feed myself. I clean myself. I have the discipline of going to the gym and keeping myself in shape. My diet could be a lot cleaner. That's another thing I'm sort of wallowing in self-pity about. But it ties to the fact that, you know why I'm allowing myself to wallow in self-pity? These habits probably existed before I started wallowing. But because something happened, and it wasn't my fault. I don't have an excuse. I don't have a raison d'etre, as though this is going to somehow become like the feel-good comeback story of the year. It's not. Thousands, millions of people are going through the same loss I'm going through on a different scale, in a different situation, who are pulling themselves up by their bootstraps, and they're just fighting through it. You know what I'm doing? I'm barely hitting the minimum. Will this podcast help me not hit the minimum? Probably not, because academically I understand that I'm being a useless human being. So what I'm going to do instead is use myself as an example of what you should not do in situations like, if you find yourself in a situation of some kind of career, personal loss, something. Use me as your example and look to me and say, this is what wallowing in self-pity looks like. I must get away from that. Do not be me. I am many things. I am not an example to people right now. Someday I might be. Hope to be. I'll get around to it. But just remember that it's completely okay, and we've talked about this before, it's completely okay to feel your feelings. That's okay. But you can't wallow in self-pity. You can feel your feelings, you can't wallow in your feelings. Because the world still turns. So you got to get up. You got to get going. I'm about to quote a Winnie the Pooh song, so we're just not going to. Look, something happens to you and it's not your fault. It's tough. In the acting world especially, because we can hang our hat on the audition and say to ourselves, this must be the right audition. This must be what was coming around the corner for me. It's probably not. And that's okay. So feel your feelings. Don't wallow in them. Don't be swallowed up by them. And you'll be good to go. You will learn how to carry those feelings with you, and they will make you ultimately sharper. But if you wallow in them, and you let the weight of them crush you down, you won't be anything. And I don't want that for you. I want you to have success. You being the 30 people who listen to this podcast. Today, you guys got kind of a quieter, less fun version of Nick. For that, I apologize. I brand myself on sort of lighter, happier podcasts, and we'll get back to that tomorrow. But today, I want to give you a lesson from my life. Listen to this and enjoy. We'll go on this journey of getting out of wallowing in our feelings. We'll do it together. You, me, and whoever else is feeling it. If you like what I said today, like and subscribe. If you're a continuing listener and you liked what you heard, like the video. If you didn't like what you heard, then don't be me and don't wallow in your feelings. I hit the microphone. I do that a lot. I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick. Have a great day.